Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Go ahead, Alex. Awesome work here.
Okay. Welcome to my presentation of Verinon, a proof of personhood protocol. What is Verinon? It's a protocol enabling private, unique use of pre-verified identity with web services. It allows for creating rich web experiences free from inorganic manipulation. In this presentation, I'll cover the issue that we're solving. I'll show an interview with Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO, and then I'll show an example scenario that provides motivation for using Verinon. I'll then move to a technical demonstration showing some of the software that's been developed, and finally wrap up with a few use cases and a conclusion. This interview with Eric Schmidt does a wonderful job of showing how modern AI can effortlessly generate fake social media profiles and mass produce them for deployment, powering all kinds of disinformation campaigns.
I saw a demonstration in England, in fact. The first command was build a profile of a woman who's 25, she has 2 kids, and she has the following strange beliefs. And the system wrote the code and created a fake persona that existed on that particular social media case. Then the next command was take that person and modify that person into every possible stereotype, every race, sex, so forth and so on, age, demographic thing, with similar views, and populate that. And 10,000 people popped up just like that. So if you wanted, for example, today, this is true today, if you wanted to create a community of 10,000 fake influencers to say, for example, that smoking doesn't cause cancer, which as we know is not true, you could do it. And one person with a PC can do this. Imagine when the AIs are far, far more powerful than they are today.
Let's take a look at an example scenario involving Julie, an avid user of Y.com. For years, she has followed top influencers and used the platform to stay up to date with breaking news. After work, she catches up on the events of the day, and of course, reads through the comment sections. Lately, though, something feels a bit off. The comment section keeps repeating the same sentiments, and the quality of the conversation dramatically declines. She starts feeling less inclined to engage. What Julie doesn't realize yet is that these accounts are not run by individuals at all. They're part of an effort to manipulate the platform's discourse through a network of fake profiles. Reading through a forum a few weeks later, she finds that others have noticed the same pattern. Something irregular has emerged, and they probably haven't been interacting with real people at all. She feels disappointed and embarrassed. How much time and energy has she spent engaging with bots posing as people? And if this is the state of social media today, how can anyone know who's real anymore? Julie sets out to find a better platform, one that prioritizes genuine human interaction. After some searching, she discovers HumanLink, a social media platform that guarantees all users are verified, unique people. Exactly what she's been looking for. She has a major concern, though. How can this platform verify real people without forcing them to hand over sensitive personal data? Julie is not comfortable giving her identity documents to a social media platform. Fortunately, HumanLink uses Verinon, a protocol that allows users to verify their identity once and then anonymously associate their verified identity with web service accounts. With Verinon, Julie can confidently register with a trusted identity verification provider. Then she can send a privacy-preserving, zero-knowledge proof of identity that associates with her HumanLink account to the protocol. So the next time she logs in, HumanLink can check Verinon to see if this account ID has been associated with a personhood proof. In this case, it has, so Julie can now use the platform. Verinon provides unique and anonymous proof of personhood when used with an application like HumanLink. Users do not need to directly provide identity documents, and can instead rely on these privacy-preserving personhood proofs. Also, Human Link is able to rely on the uniqueness of each proof and keep their account set authentic. Let's take a look at how easy it is to anonymously verify your identity using Verinon with a simple chat application. So here we are in the Verinon mobile app. We can submit our identity documents through this registration portal. For this demonstration, we will assume that this is complete and working. Now let's switch over to the chat application. We'll create a new account. Right away, we can see that the account is not verified, meaning we can't access the chat just yet. When I hit verify with Verinon, it takes us to the mobile app, where we're prompted to verify for the sending application. Now, when I press verify, it builds the proof and submits it to the network. And there we go, verification successful. So we can flip back over to the chat application, we'll give the screen a refresh, and nice, now we can see our account is verified. And we can also access the chat room. Let's look at a few potential use cases for Verinon. We could build short-lived platforms for limited anonymous discussions, maybe around local elections. We could build national platforms for verified residents, preventing foreign interference, possibly student communities, games, or simulations. And really the possibilities are endless. But I just wanted to say that AI is advancing rapidly, and we will have continued need for human-centric web services. And that's what Verinon is hoping to contribute. This will always be open source and public good, and would benefit from any contribution and input from potential users. And that's all I have, so thank you.
That's pretty much right on time as well. Thank you for that presentation, Alex, and for the demo. Like, excited to see something that was a real demo of an application as well. Floor's open for any questions from any of the mentors. If you could use the reaction or raise a hand to, yes, Otto.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for that demo, Alex. Can you explain? I didn't get the human link part of that. Is that something? Is that who provides that service?
Human Link was a demonstration application. That's just a hypothetical social media app.
Oh, okay. Oh, so so you do the identity provider can be existing, or sorry, the identity provider can be existing identity providers, and then and so they have to get up to speed in terms of issuing a personhood credential.
So yeah, it's a two-step process. You would have to register your identity, and
Right.
once that's complete, then you can use a zero-knowledge proof and submit it to the protocol, and that would associate with an account that you have with a social media application. So you could associate proof of personhood with an account, keeping your identity private.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Otto, how about you next?
Yeah, no, great job, Alex. Love the public good positioning of this. You know, it is definitely what we need. We need more public goods that favor this. Obviously, there's a number of companies trying to do similar things. But yeah, maximum open sourceness of this allows for more, I'd say, robustness in the solution. You did mention zero knowledge proofs, which I mean, we love zero knowledge proofs here at Bravado ID and Ident3, but was curious to see what you know, zero knowledge proof technologies you're looking at for this, or have you implemented those yet? How's that side of the solution work?
Yeah, so that side of things was the primary focus, and I'm using Semaphore. It's built using it's a React Native Expo app. That's where most of the ZK stuff is happening. So I'm using actually an ident3 library, React Native Rapid Snark, and
All
Semaphore.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great protocol by the Ethereum Foundation PSE group, which can easily prove inclusion exclusion using the ident3 stack as well. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah,
yeah.
I think the Ethereum Foundation would also love to hear about that. I might be able to get you some interest there later on.
Great. Yeah, would love to talk more.
We still have 4 minutes for questions, so in the meantime, I'll go for one. What was the biggest challenge that you found through the process of building this?
Definitely the mobile app. Getting Semaphore to work on the mobile app, that it kind of felt like I was squeezing a square peg through a round hole at first. There was a lot about the technology that didn't conform naturally to the React Native environment. So I think I had to spend the most time struggling there, just getting everything to work on mobile, getting Semaphore to work, making sure the proof was being generated, and also setting up the relay technology too, because it's pretty cool. It allows for submitting a proof to a blockchain network fearlessly. So that whole side of things, the mobile development.
That's super exciting. Like if you could publish the way that you solve those challenges, I'm sure that would be interesting for a lot of people who are working on Semaphore. Thank you, Alex.
Definitely.
Andor.
What's your next steps for you on this project? How are you intending to move this forward? And yeah, so what are your next steps?
Thinking about what is needed to go from kind of end of dev to production, and then probably building out really clear guides on how either new or existing applications could use it, because there's a fair bit of integration that would be needed from, say, like a social media application. They would have to do a fair bit of work. So it'd be nice to have a like easy to follow, clean guide, and then also a guide for the identity verification side of things as well. So I think that would be needed before moving to production.
Got it. One other question, if there's no other hands. Question is during this journey, how did Labs support and what did you learn during this journey with the support of the Labs mentors? And how did that change maybe what you've done and how you presented and so forth?
I think working with Nick was really helpful because he was able to give me some solid feedback on my presentation and what was coming through well, what wasn't. So I found that to be really useful. It's easy, I guess, when you are overly focused on your own work and convinced that something is good enough to lose sight of what needs adjustment. So I found that was probably the most useful, was working with Nick and getting his support with the demonstration.
I see there's another hand raised, but Nick, if you can speak, what would be your one sort of take as the mentor who was assigned to Alex's team on where this project is different and unique?
I think it's just a really great project, and it shows like what's possible. Yeah, and I mean I was very surprised how Alex was on time, 2 weeks ahead. That was fantastic. And that basically gave us time to work on like how does he want to present it, and he could iterate on the application. But yeah, this was a one-man show, and I'm very curious, like how can we take this forward, because this is just the beginning. This could become a full-fledged library, but it needs input, it needs feedback, it needs support. And yeah, I'm curious what Alex's plans are. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Nick, and thank you, Alex. So I'm conscious there's another hand raised, but in the interest of time, I will have to move this along to the next team. If you do want to leave a question, please do leave it on the chat window. I'm sure Alex would be able to follow from there. So the next team that we have lined up is linked claims, which I will hand over to whoever from that team. Is it Golda? Like, who's going to pick
Gitonga.
up? Gitonga? Okay, perfect. Take it
Yeah.
away.
Kindly, Agnes, share your screen.
Yeah, 1 inch. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to present what we have today. Today we'll be talking about linked claims. My name is Gitonga Miriam. I'm the CEO for LinkedTrust. And come to realize how AI has taken over the internet, and it is very hard for you to differentiate what is true and what is not true. AI has also gotten the power to extract raw documents and the materials and throw them onto the internet, but you cannot really tell if they are true or not, or if they are certified. And also with what that is happening in the job market right now, people are having a hard time when all the CVs, they're like the same because they're just AI generated. And when coming to look for unique features when getting a job, and it becomes a problem for people who are fair and people who are really in places where they cannot be able to secure one. Yes, there's blockchain. Yes, there's verifiable credential. Yes, but how can you tell something is true? The only way to tell something is true, it's only by using it's only by somebody who you know, trust it. That is the only way you can be able to tell it is true. And for us to be able to embed that, you're supposed to put it to embed claims within claims for you to be able to present them in the web of trust. So linked claims is the tool we are presenting to you today, and it addresses these challenges with an open pattern of addressable claims, starting with the skill credentials for human. So that is linked creds, whereby you can be able to put your skill credential in the application, and then you can send the credential to your peers, to your teachers, and they can be able to write for you a recommendation. And wherever you, like, assuming you go for a job, you're a plumber, you went to school and then you got your recommendation from school, you also got like an internship, and then your peers and your lecturers and your people who are mentoring you, you send them and they write for you a recommendation that truly you worked. And at that point, your credential will have a recommendation whereby it can be able to certify that truly you worked, you went to school, and it is signed, it is addressed, and it can be stored anywhere in your wallet, in your Google Drive, and it is portable and it is addressable. You can just retrieve it from what point you want. And the recommendations are signed and added into a verified CV that truly is human credited and certified. This is the pattern. I'll call Golda to come and speak about this. And this is an example of a claim that is stored in a Google Drive, and a claim must have a URI. It must be signed and must be addressable for it to be validated, and it is supposed to be machine readable.
Do you want me to go ahead and start now? Good time. I'll take 1 minute. Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen, Agnes, because I want to go ahead and actually share not only this, but I just want to show the live app super quick. So I'm going to replace the current share. And I love this. It's something we've been working on from a number of directions. This is the actual spec that we've written. It's on the Linked Claims Lab site. As you can see, if the claim is addressable, it has an ID in it that's a unique URI. You're actually addressing it by something inside it, not by the URL you can retrieve it from. But you can thereby generate that web of trust by linking to the unique ID that is in the signed blob. And also, you need to be able to make attestations about the signer, because just because something's signed, you don't know that that signer, he's just a dude who generated a DID. It doesn't mean you know who he is. So you need to see that embedded in a web of trust. So like if you say MIT signed this, okay, but MIT should have a bunch of stuff attached to it, not just some random DID. So we actually have a couple of apps. The one that Gitonga was referring to is live. it is actually right here, linked-creds.all-skills-count. You can use it, and you'll see that you can actually get those skills into your wallet. We also do have an app, live.linktrust.us, where you can see, this is an example of something that's not a skill, but you can actually see these in a report, and you can export the signed JSON that has the signatures in it. So you can actually export these things, import them, and you can see them in a graph where you can see how they connect to each other. And this is how you can investigate that graph and dig into it farther and be like, who's this? Who signed that? Who do they know? And you can just keep digging into the graph to see what's going on. And the open source stuff is on our website, linktrust.us. We have some open source NPM modules. This is actually for using the AI with it. But I am going to hand this back over to Gitonga. But I invite you to read our full conformance spec that talks about the addressability, the idea of having a hash link to stuff that's not actually a linked claim. So you can import stuff that's already on the web. There's really a lot here, but I need to give it back to her so she has time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Golda, for that. And now to finish up with what I was saying, as you like when the claims are put in together, they are displayed in the web of trust, and the web of trust shows the relationship from who signed it and where it is, like the relationship, and it must have a date, it must have a hash link, a source to what, like you put as evidence of maybe your certificates, maybe you doing, and then the pictures must be cryptographically signed for them to be able not to be altered. And that is now the web of trust, where we display claims and the relationship of the signs and all attestations. Now, we are so grateful for DIF Lab incubation journey. It has really able to put us in a position to really reach out and be able to present this to people, and we are so grateful. Key focus is focused on adoption. Anywhere, as long as anything addressable can work comfortably with our schema, and that's one thing that we learned, and then building in public and the power of collaboration and working together in terms of building what we want. So thank you so much. Our focus now is building open source tool for verifiable credentials. We are also partnering with Wyoming RFP on working on a tool as for skills LERs, learning and employment records. And we're also seeking collaboration in interested and implementing addressable claims and building on what we are working on. Thank you.
All right, Gitonga, thank you so much. And that is perfectly on time as well. Can I invite any of the mentors or any of the other attendees across to ask any questions to the Link Claims team? Alto, yes, go ahead.
I guess more than a question, more just congratulate both of you on this, on building in public. Values that I know me personally and many a DIF espouse, very much so. The portability of the data, right? The user self-sovereignty over it, can't overstate how important that is. Especially right now, when I see things such as the LinkedIn verifications that stay within the Microsoft ecosystem and don't go anywhere else. That I think is a key advantage, and you may even want to highlight that. But yeah, congratulations to both of you. Always great to see women in technology and DID.
Thank you.
Andor, go next.
This is a question for the entire team, but I think Golda will have some thoughts on this, which is one of the things we've talked about on the side with labs or with the linked claims is this concept of categorizing what is a valid linked claim in conformance to a linked claim. Do you have any thoughts around how eventually projects will be able to prove conformance to the linked claim schema, and what the process will look like for that?
Yeah, I don't know really so much about the process, but I think it's pretty clear to me how to look at the validation. So that's why we put the musts and the shoulds. And I'm actually imagining that we'll have like sort of decorations on it, because a linked claim that's addressable is just something with a unique address. It just actually has to have an ID field somewhere in it. That's like a URL or a URI. It has to be signed. So like the fundamental basis of being a linked claim is actually very inclusive. There's a lot of stuff that already is a linked claim. Checked in that cases, except he's got UUIDs instead of URIs, but we could just stick something in front of them. So I think we're going to have like a little wrapper that is good at importing things and then wrapping them into a linked claims compatible format. And then there's the shoulds, which I think are important, because that's where you get the hash ref. If you're linking to something that is not signed, could you please include a hash with it so that we know it didn't change since you last talked about it, things like that. And I think we're going to have, you comply with linked claims basic, you comply with linked claims hashref plus, you comply with linked claims, event spec. So I actually would like to have several levels.
I can go next. Slightly different question. Obviously, very different team size than Veronon, Alex, who was a single person team. What did you find good about collaborating, and what did you find challenging about collaborating with each other during the process? Because it's an entirely remote team, right? The link claims team. So yeah, maybe if Gitonga or someone could talk through that.
Yeah, I'll thank you so much for that. One thing about team collaborating, we are all from different time zones, and working along with each other has really helped us and put us in a place whereby we can be able to achieve a lot. We value teamwork, we value communication, because that's the key thing for working together when you're not in the same time zone and you're not in the same area. So setting goals and what we want to achieve, that is what that has stood out for us, and what we want to be and where we want to go. That is the goal and the desire and the grit to be able to communicate effectively, to put things together, to coordinate even in presentations, for us to meet the time and the deadlines and work on things. Yeah. Thank you.
Anna, thank you. Thank you for that answer, Gitonga. Anna.
Yeah, hi. Well, one of the things I actually find really, really interesting, but also very challenging about this is that linked claims are kind of, as you just described, able to connect all of these different things. And especially if you create wrappers and you could kind of connect them to everything. And also, as I heard you guys discuss, could be useful in very different industries. So I was kind of wondering what your steps forward would be to kind of maybe embrace that super wide net, or to narrow it down. Maybe you could talk a bit on that.
You want to take
So,
that? Go ahead.
okay. So one thing is to explore the market and where we can chime in for now. And being broad, yeah, when it comes to trust, it flies under so many categories, because there's also mistrust in philanthropy, in businesses, in HR tech, in skills. Like, it's a wide, and the issue is when we get the niche and the funding and what we wanna plug in, that is where we'll stick. Thank you.
And I think the feedback has been really good, even just this last weekend, from you, Anna, and from Danielle. I think we're coming to a conclusion that we have to still actually shop in our team, that we may focus first on the HR tech and the linked creds, which is where we have the most foothold and is being presented in Las Vegas in March. And we have these partnerships, and it's a little tricky because our partners did the design, so we have to have a little bit of negotiation before we can decide that 100% for sure. It looks like we're going to be able to focus on linked creds as the initial step, which focuses on skills and jobs and employment and opportunities, but still leaving that open to the future expansion.
And Anna is one of the primary mentors who worked with the linked claims team. So Anna, what was the best thing that you found about the team, about the linked claims project through your interactions in the DIF Labs cohort?
Yeah, I think actually I think quite a lot about our initial conversation, because I think it really made me realize how much over the years we've been getting bogged down a lot in maybe the current trends in government and like actual regulation of digital identity. And it really made me kind of widen my eyes again to look a bit broader and above that. So I think that's also what makes this team very interesting, is the fact that they are willing to accept all of the different options that are out there to actually implement linked claims. So I think it's a challenge for them, but also a very big opportunity because you're definitely not getting narrowed down.
Thank you for that. Benjamin, one last very quick question, and then I guess we have to move on to the next team. Benjamin?
Yeah, sure thing. So do you have any plans to move in and partner with people doing identity attribute verification like SheerID, who could authoritatively verify certain claims and be part of your network?
I'll just answer that because I talk really fast. Not yet. We have to actually seek funding and contracts right now. We can't do more speculative work at this time because we don't have the funding for it. So everything is going to be based on, can we bid for a contract? Is it going to get us funding? And then if we get that, I think we can do some more speculative outreach and network with those folks.
Cool.
I think we can end on that exciting note, like, looking out for helping the linked claims team perhaps be able to raise those funds. Thank you. All right, last but not the least, we've got the Ordinals Plus team, which went through a bit of a rebrand during the process. So Brian, if you're around, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Sorry, so I'm just looking for the share button. What do we got? I had to make it a bit bigger. There we go. Cool. So welcome everyone to today's presentation about Ordinals Plus. I'm excited to share with you how I'm connecting Bitcoin Ordinals with decentralized identity to create a more robust and trustworthy ecosystem. We'll cover the basics of Ordinals and decentralized identity and explore the current challenges in the space. I'll present our solution along with its benefits. And I would then like to give a quick demo of a website I've been working on that leverages some of these new capabilities. We'll end with a quick discussion of the future and leave time for questions. So let's start with Ordinals. This is a fascinating innovation by Casey Rodamore, released in 2022, that brings a new dimension to Bitcoin. Ordinals essentially organize Bitcoin's blockchain by inscribing data permanently and associating it with individual Satoshis. Think of it as giving each Satoshi a unique identity and the ability to carry data. What makes this special is that these inscriptions can represent anything: art, collectibles, or other digital content, and they're stored directly on the Bitcoin blockchain. Unlike traditional NFTs, there's no separate token standard, and everything exists natively at the Satoshi level. Now let's talk about decentralized identity. Ordinals Plus uses two key data models: verifiable credentials, or VCs, which are digitally signed statements that can prove claims about identity or ownership. Think of these as digital certificates that can't be forged. The second is decentralized identifiers, or DIDs. These are unique identifiers that allow entities to prove control over their identity without relying on any central authority. And this is crucial for creating trust in a decentralized world. So this brings us to the core problem we're addressing. Currently, Bitcoin Ordinals lack a built-in identity layer, and this creates several challenges. Creators have no straightforward way to prove they created specific inscriptions on chain, and collectors are faced with uncertainty about which inscriptions are genuine and officially associated with a project. This gap in identity verification creates opportunities for fraud and confusion in the marketplace, and which limits the potential of the Ordinals ecosystem. Ordinals Plus addresses these challenges by connecting Bitcoin assets with DIDs and VCs. This solution provides a way to prove authenticity and link on-chain assets to real or digital creator identities. What makes this powerful is that it eases confusion around duplicate or imposter assets by offering verifiable collection. Everything is done fully on-chain while adding a layer of verifiable identity. The benefits are substantial. For creators, Ordinals Plus demonstrates authenticity and wards off copycats while building trust through cryptographic proof of ownership and creation. And for collectors, it simplifies due diligence and reduces risk by confirming a collection's legitimacy. All of this is achieved with zero counterparty risk and maximum network effects. Let me walk you through our key specifications. First, we have BTCO did linked resources, which allows us to reference inscription and metadata resources as DIDs. And second, the BTCO did method, which enables making DIDs using those resources. Finally, BTCO verifiable metadata allows us to attach VCs as ordinal inscription metadata. So now let me show you how some of this stuff works in practice. Specifically, how did linked resources can be used to reference ordinals in the curated collection standard we've designed. We'll be using the Strategic Ordinals Reserve website, which I've created to allow users to nominate their assets to be included in this special collection. So here we are at the landing page. And before we connect, down here, we can see some of the most recently nominated ordinals. You can see each ordinals did along with the inscription content, which is a did linked resource. In some cases, like these, that's an image. Now to nominate our own, let's connect our wallet, make sure that we're logged into the right one. Now we can select an ordinal to nominate. We'll use this one. Here we're being prompted for a message to add to our nomination. And now my wallet is asking me to sign the nomination message. This is all happening off chain, and we're just signing using our Bitcoin wallet. Now we have our nominated ordinal, and we can look at this list of all pending nominations. Let's dig into one and explore the tech. So this ordinal we nominated has multiple resources attached, as you can see along the bottom with the resource identifiers. You can also see the last one here contains some metadata. I'm able to view that here. Now I'm going to switch to another wallet to act as an administrator. So now that I'm an administrator, you'll see that this Approve Nominations button has opened up. I'll go through and select some of the ordinals to approve and reject a few. Once I have my selections finished, I'll approve the selection. So there we have it. We can see our collection in all its JSON glory. The most important detail here to note is the list of DIDs inside the collection. Right here. This is as far as we've gotten so far, and the next steps will be to write the code that will enable the curated collection to be written on chain. This website is live at ordinalsreserve.com. So please, if you have any ordinals, take a look around and nominate your favorite Bitcoin ordinals. So we have now completed the first phase, specifications, on the roadmap, and we are proud to present the first versions of these documents. We're hopeful that today's presentation will generate conversation and feedback that will make this work more robust. And next up is phase 2, the implementation, where we'll get to work implementing some of these capabilities and explore various applications of the tech. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions, and please feel free to reach out to me. I'm extremely passionate about the potential of Ordinals Plus and would love to discuss further.
Thank you, Brian. That was fantastic and also exactly on time. Right. Please do use the reaction buttons to raise your hands if you'd like to ask any questions. And I don't quite know how to pronounce the handle, but VK Pat, floor's yours for the question.
Yeah, it was quite correct. So, hi, I got your point, like to attach verifiable credentials to Bitcoin ordinals, but I have few concerns over here. Maybe if you can address those or how you would look into it. So, first one is like ordinals are smallest unit of Bitcoin, so it can be transferred to another account. So, let's say if credential is being issued to some person and it gets transferred to another one, then it can create some kind of mishaps. And the second one is like since it would be on chain, so there would be very less privacy. So how do we address these two first?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to answer the first question, like yes, these things can move around from wallet to wallet, and that's kind of the point of it. This wouldn't really be used for like personal and private claims about people or about that kind of thing. It would be used more about public assets and stuff. Like you could use this for event tickets or art and collectibles, like I said. And so these are the things that you actually want to be public to the world, and you don't want to be private. So that's kind of the more of the use cases, and private claims and things about people shouldn't really be written on chain at all. So
Thanks, that answers.
Otto, you can go next.
Oh, thank you. You raised your hand first, but okay, that works. Yeah, no, clearly you are passionate about the potential of the Bitcoin chain there, and putting more utility behind Ordinals. Also, you know your way around DID. Great also to I could tell you had practiced this and you got your pitch down, buckled down quite well. So that's good. But yeah, more wondering, where in the Bitcoin community are you taking this? Are you going to go to Plan B Lugano to try to showcase it, or reach out to Blockstream and so on? Where do you see this going? It's sadly we don't have the folks at TBD any longer to give that push on the Bitcoin DID. But yeah, what are your thoughts around that?
yeah, so there's I'm hoping to complete the implementation in time for the Bitcoin conference in Vegas. There's a whole Ordinals day of that event, so I'm hoping to be able to show people at that time, and have some things written on chain that I can show and prove that there's some value here, and this can actually solve some of the problems that we see in the Ordinals. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, best of luck to you.
Thanks.
All right, please do raise your hands if you'd like to ask a question. I've got one. So Brian, interesting background. I think you've got lots of artwork, it seems like. What was your inspiration behind building this, and have you spoken with any artists?
Yeah, so kind of my interest came from being a Bitcoiner and being involved in that space. And as soon as Ordinals came out, I was inscribing things on there and playing with it. And like right away, I was like, well, decentralized identity and this kind of go perfectly together. So I want to do that. And as far as like speaking to artists and stuff, haven't done too much. My brother, who's on the call, is an artist, and we've been working together quite a lot in that aspect. So we've written some of his art to the chain and sold some of that, and played with it that way. But we haven't reached out to any artists yet until I kind of get this stuff tightened up a bit more, and it allow it to be easy for artists to use this.
All right, excellent. Well, hi to your brother as well, who's been working on the call. Kim? Sorry, just going to someone who hasn't asked a question before.
Yeah, one thing that occurs to me as you were talking about next steps is the idea of how we, DIF, can continue to support Labs alumni. And so I'm just curious if you had any sort of thoughts off the top of your head. No worries if you don't. I think in general, it's something I want to be thinking about. I'll be following up with the chairs, but just curious for your thoughts on how we can support you going forward.
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about it too much. I've just kind of been focusing on the specs so far. But like I said, like the next part is implementation, and like DIF has a large community of developers and stuff. So I'd love to have more hands writing the code than just me. So if whatever we can figure out to try and get more interest and developers looking at this stuff would be great.
Excellent. Okay, we've got oh, sorry, I'll lower my hand. VK Patva again.
Yeah, just asking one more question. So since there was a Bitcoin ordinal trend, EVM also followed up the same trend. So are you looking to also build around EVM chains, like inscriptions or something of similar sort on EVM chains?
No, I haven't yet. But yeah, the inscription trend did definitely take off throughout all kind of blockchains. I'm mostly focused on UTXO chains at this point. And so further than just BTC, there's another Bitcoin that span out because of Ordinals basically called Fractal. And that's kind of the next one that I would probably work on, just to make it cheaper to use this stuff. But from there, like, yeah, I'm interested in kind of bringing this sort of approach to all chains to make them all interoperable, and using this pattern would be really cool.
Okay, Harold, I assume you're Brian's brother, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's me. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we had some great discussions with Matt and Andor as well. So just on the previous question Kim asked, that kind of support's fantastic. Just trying to find the best way to communicate all this stuff. Clearly, this presentation itself is a really good opportunity for that. But yeah, really appreciative to the DIF Labs people and everything they're doing, everything you are doing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, excellent. And that brings us to the end of all the teams that had to present. And Andor, I would like to tee you up next to talk about where we wrap things up with this edition of DIF Labs and what happens next. Andor, over to you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, a big congrats to all the projects. It was a 3-month slog of really awesome work with a lot of really fantastic engagement, both and the mentors as well. I want to quickly give a shout out to, if you guys go to, I'll just quickly share my screen. A few quick things here. You can take a look at our mentors on the knowledge pool. You'll find them over here. They've been helping these projects along the way. So thank you to all the mentors that have showed up today. And what I'm attaching here to the chat is where you can find more information, as well as a survey. If you'd like to use it over your phone, I'm going to also screen share a QR code. You can use that to also sign in. Going forward, we're planning our next round of cohorts. So we're still planning it out. We're looking forward to the feedback from the survey that I've just sent over. But our idea is right now to anchor around a few core themes and subjects. So if you're interested, I think the big thing is to please give us some feedback so we can make this next cohort just as good or better, hopefully, even than the first one. This was our beta cohort. This was our first cohort. We've learned a lot during this process, and we're going to build onto that for this next round. The cohort's probably going to be happening toward the, we're still actually anchoring on the date, but probably next few months. We're attempting to make it most likely competitive. So, if you're interested in bringing a project that wants to get a lot of support, we're really excited to hear about it. The cohort topics right now we're looking at is, let me just pull up here, person credential, content authenticity, cryptography, verifiable AI, and industry. So if you're into those themes, please reach out. If you have something else and you think that we need to be adding a different theme, also reach out and let us know, we should be thinking about this problem instead. And other than that, just wanted to thank the chairs as well, Daniel and Encore, for guiding this whole thing along the way. It's incredible support from both these chairs, as well as Kim Duffy and Lamari, who have been supporting this effort since the beginning. And it's very exciting to see everybody here, over 40 people joining in and supporting these projects. So we're looking forward to next cohort. So please give the feedback when you can. And Encore, Daniel, Kim, Lamari, anything else you want to add on before we close off here?
I haven't really spoken much during the presentations. I wanted to leave space for all of you to ask questions, and it's very heartwarming to see that we didn't even have enough time in some cases to get to all the questions. And I wanted to, from my perspective as a person, but also as a chair of this group, say a thank you to all of you for taking this seriously. I think it's rare today for me to see a community of real humans coming together and thinking about stuff together, as opposed to the 30 seconds of attention you give to your prompt in order to get a response and a result that you hand over to other people who aren't even going to be reading it. I think that as progress marches forward, the work that we're seeing here in labs today, and I hope in the future, finds ways for us as humans to respect our humanity and enjoy that humanity. I see that today, and I'm thankful for it, and I'm thankful for all of you, and I hope to see you again at cohort 2 and at conferences all over the world. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Amen. Daniel said it beautifully. And I think that, seeing that these decentralized identity standards, techniques, the things that we've been working for many years, I think as Anna pointed out recently, the focus a lot is on government identity, but the roots of why many of us got involved was things like people should own their identity. I should be able to control my lifelong learning records. And I really enjoyed seeing that these are about the sort of broader set of claims to prove things about ourselves, control our data. And then especially in the face of improving AI, and the demand for solutions to proof of humanity, the idea of if this is going to happen, it better be something that's privacy preserving, under our control, and something that preserves and promotes our authentic human experience. So thank you so much to everyone. This is just really wonderful to see everyone come together and seeing the progress of the cohort. And thank you to the advice of the mentors and chairs.
Thanks, everyone. And I mean, I'm not going to repeat everything everybody said, but just like a huge round of thanks to all of the mentors who worked sometimes one-on-one with the teams and over a lot of the weeks to provide guidance, to provide coaching. I think this is probably a very set of in-demand people in terms of how busy they are. But really sort of appreciated the mentors taking out the time to work with all of the teams who were part of DIF Labs and giving them coaching and guidance throughout the process. So just wanted to give a shout out to them. Right. I guess I don't know if there's anything else that anybody else wants to say, but I will be following up with all of the teams to pass on the feedback from the tail draw board so that all of that feedback is captured. And for the mentors and the teams who participated, I'll separately follow up and just remind you of the survey link as well, so that we get to hear about how to make the next edition of DIF Labs even better.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Everyone. Bye. Thank you.